Chapter 1. The perfect plan. Marcus Reynolds had always imagined December as a month of certainty. Snowflakes drifting past frosted windows, the scent of cinnamon and pine curling through the air, and the comforting knowledge that everything in his life was falling neatly into place. This year, it was supposed to be perfect. His first Christmas as an engaged man, 3 weeks away from the wedding he'd been planning for 2 years. He hummed along to Bing Crosby as he adjusted a string of lights on the small tree in his apartment. The tree leaned slightly to the left, but Marcus decided it gave the room character. His laptop sat open on the coffee table, displaying a spreadsheet of wedding expenses. Cake tasting scheduled for next Thursday. Venue deposit paid. DJ confirmed. He smiled at the neat rows of checkmarks. Organization was his love language. The front door clicked open, and Marcy Denton breezed in like a gust of winter wind. Cheeks flushed, hair tumbling from beneath a knit beanie, her perfume mingling with the scent of peppermint candles. Marcus's heart did its usual somersault. Even after 6 years together, she still had that effect on him. "Hey you," he said, grinning as he crossed the room. "You look like you wrestled a snowstorm." Marcy laughed, unwinding her scarf. Traffic was a nightmare. Everyone's out shopping like Christmas is tomorrow. Marcus kissed her cheek, then stepped back to admire her. She was beautiful in that effortless way. Soft waves of chestnut hair, eyes that sparkled like champagne. He'd always thought she was the kind of woman who made rooms brighter just by walking into them. "Dinner's in the oven," he said. "Lasagna. Thought we could go over the seating chart after." Marcy hesitated, tugging off her gloves. "About that?" Marcus felt the first ripple of unease. "About the seating chart? About everything." She perched on the arm of the couch, her expression carefully neutral. "So, I'm going to Aspen." Marcus blinked. "Aspen? Yeah, ski trip. With the girls." She said it lightly, like announcing she'd bought new socks. He waited for the punchline. It didn't come. "When?" "Next week." She smiled, as if that softened the blow. "Just for 2 weeks. I'll be back before Christmas." Marcus's brain scrambled for logic. 2 weeks? "Marcy, the wedding's in 3 weeks." "I know." She waved a hand, dismissing the obvious. "That's why I want to go now. One last hurrah before married life. Girls trip, hot cocoa, snow angels. It'll be fun." Marcus stared at her, words bottlenecking in his throat. They'd spent months agonizing over budgets, guest lists, floral arrangements. Aspen wasn't just a detour, it was a luxury detour. "Isn't Aspen expensive?" "Don't worry." She flashed that dazzling smile, the one that usually melted his resistance. "My parents are paying for it. They want me to have fun before I tie the knot." Marcus nodded slowly, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. "That's generous of them, right?" She hopped off the couch, already pulling out her phone. "I'll send you the itinerary later. Oh, and don't stress about the wedding stuff. I trust you." Trust. The word landed like a snowball to the chest. Marcus swallowed hard, pushing down the questions clawing at his throat. Why now? Why spend thousands on a ski trip when they were saving for a honeymoon? But he didn't argue. He never argued. That wasn't their rhythm. He was the calm to her whirlwind, the anchor to her sail. "Have fun," he said, his voice steady even as his stomach nodded. "You deserve it." Her smile widened, and she kissed him quickly before disappearing into the bedroom to pack. Marcus stood in the glow of the Christmas lights, listening to the muffled thump of drawers opening and closing. Outside, snowflakes drifted lazily past the window, settling on the city like powdered sugar. It should have felt magical. Instead, Marcus felt a chill seep into his bones. A quiet, creeping cold that had nothing to do with winter. Chapter 2. Silent nights. Marcus woke to the soft glow of morning light filtering through the blinds and the faint hum of his phone vibrating on the nightstand. He reached for it, half expecting a cheerful text from Marcy, something with snowflake emojis and a selfie in ski goggles. Instead, the screen displayed a single message sent at 2:14 a.m. "Made it to Aspen. So tired. Talk later." Marcus stared at the heart emoji like it was a consolation prize. He typed back a quick reply, "Glad you made it safe. Have fun," and set the phone down, ignoring the hollow ache in his chest. The apartment felt too quiet without her. No Marcy humming off-key in the shower, no trail of scarves and boots leading to the bedroom. Just Marcus, his coffee, and the spreadsheet of wedding expenses glaring at him like an unpaid bill. He tried to focus on the seating chart, but every name blurred into a snowdrift of uncertainty. Did Aunt Linda still hate Cousin Greg? Was it rude to put his college roommate next to Marcy's yoga instructor? He sighed and pushed the laptop away. "Okay," he muttered to himself. "Napkin colors. That's easy." It wasn't. 45 minutes later, Marcus was standing in a home goods store, holding 2 napkins like they were rare artifacts. One was ivory, the other was cream. He squinted at them under fluorescent lights, then under the warm glow of a display lamp, then in natural light near the window. They looked exactly the same. "Excuse me," he said to a passing stranger. A woman juggling 3 scented candles. "Which one says, 'Elegant winter wedding to you'?" She blinked at him. They're both beige. Marcus nodded solemnly. That's what I thought. By the time he left the store, he had 6 napkins in varying shades of beige and a creeping sense that he was losing his mind. He texted Marcy a photo of his haul with the caption, "Napkin crisis averted." Hours passed before she replied, "Looks great. Heading to dinner with the girls. Talk tomorrow." Tomorrow. Marcus stared at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. He wanted to ask about the trip, about the slopes, about whether she missed him at all. Instead, he typed, "Have fun," and hit send. The next day was the same. A brief text in the morning, going skiing, and radio silence until midnight. Marcus told himself not to worry. She deserved this. She deserved laughter and snow angels and overpriced hot cocoa in a mountain lodge. He was happy she was happy. But as the days passed, the silence stretched like tinsel pulled too thin. Marcus filled the void with wedding tasks, each one a comedy of errors. He spent an hour debating the merits of buttercream versus fondant before realizing he didn't even like cake. He tried to assemble a centerpiece and ended up gluing his sleeve to a pine cone. He burned an entire batch of gingerbread cookies because he got distracted watching a video on top 10 romantic Christmas proposals. By the end of the week, Marcus had a living room that looked like Santa's workshop exploded and a heart that felt strangely hollow. He told himself it was just the distance, just the stress of planning. But late at night, staring at the blinking lights on the tree, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Chapter 3. The Cake Tasting Catastrophe. The bakery smelled like heaven, warm vanilla, sugar, and the faint spice of cinnamon drifting through the air. Marcus inhaled deeply as he stepped inside, clutching the appointment card like a lifeline. This was supposed to be fun. Cake tasting. Sweet, simple, stress-free. A moment to savor amid the chaos of planning. Except Marcy wasn't here. Marcus had stared at her name on the calendar all morning, hoping for a miracle text. "Change of plans. I'm back early. Let's eat cake together." Instead, his phone remained stubbornly silent. So he'd improvised. He invited Marcy's mother, Diane Denton, a woman who could turn any occasion into a hallmark moment. "Marcus." Diane swept into the bakery like a burst of holiday cheer, her red coat sparkling with snowflakes. "I'm so glad you called. I've been dying to taste these cakes." Marcus smiled, relieved by her warmth. "Thanks for coming. I figured someone should enjoy this with me." "Oh, honey, you're doing great." She patted his arm as they approached the display case. "Marcy's lucky to have you. Planning a wedding is no small feat," Marcus chuckled, though the words lodged in his throat. Lucky. He hoped that was still true. They settled at a small table as the baker presented an array of slices: chocolate ganache, lemon chiffon, red velvet crowned with cream cheese frosting. Diane's eyes lit up like Christmas lights. "Start with the chocolate," she said, wielding her fork like a sword. "Life's too short for restraint." Marcus obliged, savoring the rich sweetness. For a moment, he almost forgot the gnawing unease in his chest. Almost. "This is amazing," he said, jotting notes in his planner. "Marcy will love it." Diane dabbed her lips with a napkin. "She's going to be thrilled. I can't wait to see her face when she walks down that aisle." Marcus smiled faintly, then, without thinking, added, "And thank you for paying for her trip. That was really generous." The fork froze halfway to Diane's mouth. "Excuse me?" Marcus blinked. "For Aspen. She said you and Mr. Denton covered it." Diane stared at him like he'd just spoken fluent Martian. "Marcus, we didn't pay for anything." The words hit like a snowball to the gut. "You didn't?" "No." Diane set down her fork, her expression tightening. "Marcy never mentioned Aspen to us. We assumed she was busy with wedding plans." Marcus's pulse thudded in his ears. He forced a laugh, thin, brittle. "Ha! Must have been a misunderstanding." Diane frowned, concern flickering in her eyes. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah," Marcus lied, scribbling something meaningless in his planner. "Everything's fine." They finished the tasting in polite silence, Marcus nodding at flavors he barely tasted. His mind was elsewhere, spinning, unraveling. Why would Marcy lie? If her parents didn't pay, then who did? And why hide it? By the time he walked Diane to her car, snow was falling in fat, lazy flakes, blanketing the street in white. Marcus stood on the curb, watching her taillights disappear, his breath fogging in the cold. The bakery's warmth clung to his coat, but inside, he felt frozen. He drove home in a daze, Christmas lights blurring into streaks of color. His apartment greeted him with silence, the tree twinkling cheerfully as if mocking his mood. Marcus sank onto the couch, staring at his phone. He could call Marcy, demand answers. Instead, he opened Instagram. Her latest post popped up instantly. A harmless photo of her and 2 girlfriends on a snowy hillside, all smiles and ski gear. Marcus exhaled, tension easing for a heartbeat. Maybe he was overreacting. Maybe it was nothing. Then he clicked on her friend's profile. And that was when his world cracked open. Chapter 4. Social Media Sleuth. Marcus stared at the photo on Marcy's feed until his eyes blurred. 3 women in matching ski jackets, grinning against a backdrop of snow-dusted pines. Harmless. Perfectly harmless. He almost laughed at himself for spiraling. Almost. Then he tapped on her best friend's profile. The first few posts were innocent enough. Group shots on the slopes, steaming mugs of cocoa, a blurry picture of a snowman wearing sunglasses. Marcus scrolled faster, his pulse ticking like a metronome. And then he saw it. A candid photo, clearly not meant for public consumption. Marcy in the background, perched on a man's lap, her arms draped around his neck, his face angled toward hers, lips grazing her cheek. Marcus's stomach dropped so hard he thought he might be sick. He knew that man. Tall, dark-haired, smug grin, the coworker Marcy had mentioned in passing. The one who wouldn't stop flirting, but was harmless. Marcus stared at the image, every detail burning into his brain. Marcy's flushed cheeks, the way her fingers curled possessively in the man's collar, the unmistakable intimacy of it all. He scrolled again. Another photo. This time, no ambiguity. Marcy kissing him, full on the mouth, while her friends laughed in the foreground. Marcus's breath hitched, sharp and ragged. The bakery's warmth, the Christmas lights, the napkin debates, all of it felt like a cruel joke now. For a long moment, he just sat there, phone in hand, the apartment silent except for the faint hum of the heater. His heart thudded like a drum, each beat echoing with betrayal. He wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to demand an explanation. But what was left to explain? The truth was right there, pixelated and undeniable. Marcus opened his laptop, fingers trembling as he composed an email. No rage, no theatrics, just cold, clipped sentences. Mr. and Mrs. Denton, the wedding is cancelled. I've attached photos Marcy might not have shared with you. I'll be cancelling all arrangements. Thank you for your kindness to me. Marcy will need a place to stay when she returns. Marcus he attached the images, hit send, and sat back, staring at the blinking cursor like it might offer absolution. Didn't. The apartment felt cavernous, the twinkling tree mocking him with its cheer. Marcus closed his eyes, inhaling the scent of pine and peppermint, and wondered how love could unravel so quickly. How something that felt eternal yesterday could feel like ashes today. Outside, snow fell in thick, silent sheets, blanketing the city in white. Marcus watched it through the window, numb, as if the world were erasing itself one flake at a time. Chapter 5. Marcy's world crashes. Marcy Denton was halfway through a plate of truffle fries when her phone buzzed across the polished wood of the ski lodge table. She barely glanced at it, probably Marcus sending another sweet message about napkins or centerpieces. She'd deal with that later. Right now, she was laughing at a story her friend Jenna was telling about a disastrous blind date involving a man, a sled, and a very angry moose. The phone buzzed again, then it rang. Marcy sighed, snatched it up, and froze when she saw the caller ID, Mom. Hey Mom, she said brightly, pressing the phone to her ear. What's up? Her mother's voice exploded like a firecracker. Marcy Elaine Denton. What in God's name are you doing? Marcy blinked, fries forgotten. Eating lunch? Don't you dare play dumb with me. Diane's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. Marcus sent us pictures. Pictures of you sitting on some man's lap, kissing him, in Aspen. The floor vanished beneath Marcy's feet. What? No, Mom, that's... Don't you lie to me. Diane's fury crackled through the line. This isn't a misunderstanding. Marcus emailed us. The wedding is cancelled. Marcy's breath hitched, her pulse pounding in her ears. Cancelled? No, Mom, listen. Marcus broke up with you, Marcy. He said he's cancelling all the arrangements. Do you have any idea what you've done? Marcy's throat closed around a sob. She stumbled out of her chair, ignoring Jenna and Claire's startled looks. Mom, please, just let me explain. Explain what? That you threw away a man who loves you for a fling on a ski trip? What were you thinking? Marcy didn't have an answer. She hadn't thought, at least not beyond the glittering promise of freedom, the thrill of rebellion, the stupid idea that one last hurrah would make her feel something. She told herself it was harmless. She told herself Marcus would never know. Her mother's voice softened, but only slightly. You need to come home. Now. The call ended, leaving Marcy staring at her reflection in the lodge's frosted window. Mascara smudged, cheeks pale, eyes wide with panic. Behind her, Jenna and Claire exchanged looks that made Marcy's stomach twist. They found out, Jenna asked, voice low. Marcy whirled on them, fury bubbling through her fear. You said this would stay between us. You promised. Claire shrugged, unbothered. Nobody forced you to cheat, Marcy. That was your choice. My choice. Marcy's voice cracked. You pushed me into this. You kept saying I wasn't ready, that I deserved better. And you agreed, Jenna said coolly, sipping her cocoa. Don't blame us because you wanted a little excitement. Marcy's hands trembled as she grabbed her coat. I'm leaving. I have to fix this. Jenna snorted. Fix what? He blocked you already. Marcy froze. What? Check your phone, Claire said, smirking. Bet you can't even get through. Marcy's fingers fumbled as she dialed Marcus's number. The call rang once, then cut to voicemail. She tried again. Blocked. Texts bounced back undelivered. Her stomach lurched like a ski lift in a storm. She shoved her phone into her pocket, tears stinging her eyes. I'm going home. Maybe it's for the best, Jenna called after her. You weren't ready to get married anyway. Marcy didn't answer. She pushed through the lodge doors into the biting cold, snow swirling around her like shards of glass. For the first time in years, she felt utterly, terrifyingly alone. Chapter 6. Blocked. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, staring at his phone like it was a ticking bomb. The screen lit up with Marcy's name again. He didn't answer. He didn't even flinch. The first call had been easy to ignore. The second, harder. By the fifth, he'd blocked her number. Now silence. He exhaled slowly, the kind of breath that feels like it's carrying a lifetime of weight. His apartment was dim except for the glow of the Christmas tree, its lights blinking cheerfully as if mocking him. The tree didn't care that his wedding was cancelled. The tree didn't care that his heart felt like a cracked ornament. Marcus pushed the phone aside and reached for the box of wedding favor chocolates sitting on the counter. He popped one into his mouth, then another, then another. By the time he realized what he was doing, half the box was gone, and he was staring at a pile of shiny wrappers like evidence of a crime. Great, he muttered. Emotional eating. Classic. He stood, pacing the kitchen, trying to shake the restless energy buzzing under his skin. He'd canceled the venue, the florist, the DJ, all with curt, professional emails that felt like tiny funerals. Each click of send was another nail in the coffin of a life he'd spent years building. And yet, beneath the ache, there was clarity. A strange, cold calm. Marcus wasn't angry, not in the way he expected. He wasn't plotting revenge or drafting scathing texts. He was done. Completely, irrevocably done. No more lies. No more excuses. No more pretending that love could survive betrayal. His phone buzzed again, a notification this time. Email. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. He knew who it was from, and he knew nothing inside would change what he'd seen. Marcus wandered into the living room, sinking onto the couch. The tree twinkled in the corner, casting soft shadows across the room. He stared at it for a long time, then laughed, a short, bitter sound. Guess it's just you and me, buddy, he said to the tree. Hope you like lasagna. The absurdity of it hit him, and for the first time in days Marcus smiled. A small, crooked smile, but real. Maybe this was rock bottom. Or maybe it was the start of something better. He didn't know yet. All he knew was that he wasn't going back. Outside, snow drifted past the window, silent and relentless, erasing footprints and tire tracks, covering the world in a clean, white slate. Marcus stared at it and thought, maybe that's what I need too. Chapter 7. The unexpected guest. Marcus had officially reached the stage of heartbreak where his best friend intervened. It started with a text from Tyler at 8 a.m. Get dressed. We're going out. No arguments. Marcus replied with a single word. Why? Tyler's response was immediate. Because you look like a man who's been talking to his Christmas tree for 3 days. Marcus glanced at the tree, which twinkled innocently in the corner. Traitor, he muttered, pulling on a sweater. An hour later, Marcus found himself trudging through a bustling Christmas market, the air thick with cinnamon and roasted chestnuts. Strings of lights crisscrossed above, casting a golden glow over rows of stalls, selling everything from handmade ornaments to artisanal fudge. Carolers sang near the fountain, their voices mingling with the laughter of children skating on a temporary rink. Tyler clapped him on the back. See? Festive. Joyful. Therapeutic. Marcus grunted. It's crowded. It's Christmas, Tyler said, steering him toward a cocoa stand. You're supposed to be merry. Marcus ordered a hot chocolate, extra whipped cream, because if his life was falling apart, he might as well drown in sugar. He turned, cup in hand, and collided with someone. The cocoa went airborne in a spectacular arc, landing squarely on his sweater. Oh my God, a voice gasped. I'm so sorry. Marcus looked up and froze. She was stunning in a way that felt accidental, like she hadn't tried and still managed to look like a walking holiday card. Dark curls spilled from beneath a knit hat, and her eyes, warm amber brown, widened in horror as she dabbed at his chest with a napkin. I'm so sorry, she said, cheeks flushed. I wasn't looking. Are you okay? Marcus blinked, brain short-circuiting. Yeah, it's just hot chocolate. Adds character. She laughed, a bright, melodic sound that cut through the static in his head. Character, huh? Well, let me buy you another one. It's the least I can do. Tyler, lurking behind Marcus like a smug elf, grinned. He'll take it. And maybe your number. Marcus shot him a look that could melt snow, but the woman only smiled, amused. I'm Harper, she said, extending a hand. Marcus, he replied, shaking it. Her hand was warm, her grip firm, and for the first time in weeks, Marcus felt something other than numbness. A spark, small but undeniable. They walked back to the cocoa stand together, Harper chatting about the market, the ridiculous price of gingerbread houses, and how she'd nearly been trampled by a man dressed as Rudolph. Marcus found himself laughing, actually laughing, at her stories, the sound foreign and freeing. When Harper handed him a fresh cup of cocoa, their fingers brushed. Marcus felt the spark again, stronger this time, and wondered if maybe, just maybe, the universe was nudging him toward a new chapter. Chapter 8. Marcy returns. Marcus was halfway through stringing lights across his balcony when the knock came. Sharp, urgent, echoing through the quiet of his apartment. He froze, the strand of bulbs dangling from his hand like a lifeline. Another knock, louder this time. Marcus set the lights down and opened the door. Marcy stood there, snow clinging to her coat, mascara smudged in dark crescents beneath her eyes. She looked nothing like the woman who had breezed out of his apartment 2 weeks ago, laughing about ski trips and cocoa. This Marcy was pale, trembling, her breath fogging in the cold. "Marcus," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please, can we talk?" Marcus leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. He felt strangely calm, like the storm had already passed and left nothing but silence in its wake. "There's nothing to talk about." Her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, there is. I made a mistake. A stupid, horrible mistake. But I love you. I've always loved you." Marcus almost laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. "You love me? You kissed another man while planning our wedding." "I didn't think," she broke off, choking on a sob. "I thought it was harmless. Just one last bit of freedom before marriage. I didn't mean for it to." "Stop." Marcus's voice was quiet, but it cut like glass. "Do you hear yourself? You wanted freedom, Marcy. You got it. Congratulations." She flinched, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Marcus, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can." "No." He shook his head, firm and final. "I don't need counseling. I need honesty. And you can't give me that." Marcy reached for his arm, but he stepped back. The distance between them felt like a canyon now, wide, cold, impossible to cross. "I blocked your number for a reason," he said. "I'm done." Her sobs broke into jagged breaths. "You can't just throw away 6 years." Marcus met her gaze, steady and unflinching. "You threw it away the moment you decided a ski trip was worth more than trust." For a long moment, neither spoke. Snow drifted past the balcony, settling on the railing like powdered sugar. Somewhere in the distance, carolers sang, their voices faint and sweet, a cruel soundtrack to the wreckage of their love. Finally, Marcy lowered her head, shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and for the first time Marcus believed her. But it didn't matter. Some words came too late. He closed the door gently, not with anger, but with finality. The click echoed through the apartment like a period at the end of a sentence. Marcus stood there for a moment, staring at the door, then turned back to the balcony. The lights waited, tangled and messy, but fixable. He picked them up and began to untangle the knots, his fingers steady, his breath even. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and relentless, erasing footprints and mistakes alike. Chapter 9. Healing and humor. Marcus woke to sunlight streaming through the blinds and the faint sound of carolers outside. For the first time in weeks, his chest didn't feel like a lead weight. The confrontation with Marcy had been brutal, but it was done. Final. Clean. He closed the door on that chapter and maybe, just maybe, opened the window to something new. He shuffled into the kitchen, poured coffee, and stared at the half-decorated tree like it was mocking him. A strand of lights dangled from the branches like a limp noodle. The angel topper sat crooked, looking vaguely drunk. Marcus sighed. "All right," he muttered. "Let's finish this." 2 hours later, the living room looked like a Christmas explosion. Garland draped across the mantel, stockings hung with military precision, and the tree, finally, stood tall and glowing. Marcus stepped back, admiring his handiwork, and grinned. It wasn't perfect, but it was his. His phone buzzed. Tyler again. "Round 2 at the market? Harper might be there." Winking face Marcus stared at the winking emoji, heat creeping up his neck. Harper. The woman with the cocoa and the laugh that had cracked his gloom like sunlight through clouds. He'd thought about her more than he cared to admit. He typed back, "Fine." But no matchmaking speeches. An hour later, Marcus was back at the market, weaving through crowds of shoppers clutching gingerbread kits and overpriced ornaments. Tyler peeled off to find cider, leaving Marcus alone near a stall selling handmade wreaths. And then he heard it, that laugh. Bright, warm, unmistakable. He turned. Harper stood a few feet away, examining a wreath adorned with tiny bells. She looked up and their eyes met. Her smile widened. "Marcus," she said, like it was a pleasant surprise. "Back for more cocoa disasters?" He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I figured I owed the market a second chance. And maybe a dry sweater." Harper laughed, stepping closer. "Well, I promise not to spill anything on you this time." They wandered the stalls together, conversation flowing as easily as the snowflakes drifting overhead. Harper teased him about his napkin crisis, and Marcus confessed to eating an entire box of wedding chocolates in one sitting. She laughed so hard she nearly dropped her cider. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt light, like the weight of betrayal had melted into something softer, something hopeful. Harper wasn't a distraction. She was possibility. As they paused near a booth selling mistletoe, Harper raised an eyebrow. "So," she said, voice playful, Are you brave enough to walk under that? Marcus grinned, heart thudding in a way that felt terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Maybe, he said, but only if you're there too. Her smile was answer enough. Chapter 10. A Christmas twist. The city glowed like a snow globe come to life. Strings of lights draped across lampposts, wreaths hung on every door, and the crisp December air hummed with carols. Marcus adjusted his scarf as he stepped into the grand hall of the annual Christmas charity gala, a tradition Tyler had strong-armed him into attending. Trust me, Tyler had said, grinning like a man with a secret. You need this. Good cause, good food, good people. Marcus wasn't convinced until he saw Harper. She stood near the entrance, framed by a towering Christmas tree glittering with gold ornaments. Her dress was simple, elegant, deep green that made her eyes glow like amber in candlelight. When she spotted him, her smile lit up the room more than the tree ever could. Marcus, she said, voice warm as mulled wine. You clean up well. He laughed, tugging at his tie. Thanks. I was aiming for not tragic. Harper chuckled, looping her arm through his as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Come on. They're auctioning off gingerbread houses for charity. I need moral support. The evening unfolded like something out of a holiday movie, laughter echoing through the hall, the scent of pine and cinnamon mingling with soft strains of jazz. Marcus found himself bidding on a gingerbread house he didn't need just because Harper dared him to. She teased him mercilessly when he won, claiming he'd single-handedly saved Christmas. Later, they wandered onto the balcony, escaping the hum of conversation. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling on the railing like powdered sugar. The city stretched below, twinkling with lights, and for a moment, Marcus felt suspended in something timeless. Harper leaned against the railing, breath fogging in the cold. You know, she said softly, you seem lighter tonight. Marcus considered that. Maybe I am, he admitted. It's been a rough few weeks. Her gaze was gentle, curious but not prying. Well, whoever made you feel heavy was a fool. Marcus smiled, the words sinking deep, warm and steady. You might be right. They stood in silence for a beat, snow swirling around them like confetti. Then Harper glanced up, eyes sparkling with mischief. Look, she said, pointing above them. Marcus followed her finger and laughed. A sprig of mistletoe dangled from the balcony arch, swaying in the breeze like fate's little joke. Well, Harper murmured, stepping closer. Rules are rules. Marcus's heart thudded, loud enough to drown out the music inside. He hesitated for half a breath, then closed the distance. The kiss was soft, tentative, and yet it carried something electric, something that felt like the first chord of a song he'd been waiting his whole life to hear. When they pulled apart, Harper's cheeks were flushed, her smile shy but radiant. Merry Christmas, Marcus, she whispered. Marcus grinned, feeling the weight of the past weeks melt like snow in sunlight. Merry Christmas, Harper. And for the first time in a long time, Marcus believed in new beginnings. Chapter 11. Moving forward, Marcus sat at his desk, the glow of his laptop casting soft light across the room. Outside, snow fell in lazy spirals, muffling the city in quiet. The apartment smelled faintly of pine and cinnamon, the tree twinkling in the corner like a silent cheerleader. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt steady, like the ground beneath his feet wasn't shifting anymore. On the screen, his inbox blinked with a new message. Marcy Denton, please read. Marcus stared at it for a long moment. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. Whatever apology, excuse, or plea waited inside couldn't change what had already been broken. He hovered over the subject line, then clicked delete. The message vanished, leaving nothing but clean white space. Next, he opened the wedding spreadsheet, the one he'd built with meticulous care, color-coded tabs and all. It felt surreal, staring at rows of names, deposits, and deadlines that belonged to a life he no longer wanted. Marcus selected the entire sheet and hit delete. Gone. Just like that. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. It wasn't sadness he felt now, it was relief. A quiet, profound lightness, like shrugging off a coat that had grown too heavy. The wedding wasn't happening. The future he'd imagined wasn't coming. And that was okay, because maybe something better was waiting. Marcus stood, crossing to the living room. The tree glowed softly, ornaments catching the light like tiny stars. He reached for the guest list pinned to the fridge, a relic of plans that no longer mattered, and tore it in half. Then in quarters. Then into confetti that fluttered into the trash like snowflakes. When he turned back, his phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Harper and I are grabbing coffee. You in? Marcus smiled, the answer forming before he even thought about it. Absolutely. He grabbed his coat, pausing at the door to glance at the tree one last time. It wasn't perfect. Some lights still tangled, the angel topper slightly crooked. But it was his. A symbol of survival, of starting over. Marcus stepped into the crisp winter air, the city alive with carols and laughter. Snowflakes kissed his cheeks as he walked, each one a tiny promise that endings weren't the enemy. They were the beginning of something new. Chapter 12. Love rekindled. Christmas Eve wrapped the city in a hush, the kind that feels sacred, snow blanketing rooftops, lights twinkling like stars fallen to earth, carols drifting faintly from distant windows. Marcus stood outside the cafe, breath fogging in the crisp air, heart thudding with a rhythm that felt unfamiliar yet welcome. Inside, Harper sat at a corner table, her dark curls haloed by the glow of string lights. She looked up as he entered, and her smile, soft, genuine, was enough to melt the last shards of winter lodged in his chest. "You made it," she said, rising to greet him. "Wouldn't miss it," Marcus replied, and meant it. They settled into the cozy nook, mugs of steaming cocoa between them. Outside, snowflakes tapped against the glass like curious ghosts. Inside, warmth pooled around them, soft jazz humming from the speakers, the scent of cinnamon and coffee curling through the air. Harper tilted her head, studying him with those amber eyes that seemed to see more than he said. "You look lighter," she murmured. Marcus smiled, a little sheepish. "Guess I finally let go of some things." "Good," she said softly. "You deserve light." The words sank deep, warm and steady. Marcus wanted to tell her everything. The heartbreak, the hollow nights, the way her laughter had cracked the gloom like sunlight through clouds. Instead, he said, "You make it easy." Her cheeks flushed, and for a moment, silence stretched between them. Not awkward, but charged, like the pause before a song's first note. Then Harper reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. Marcus felt the spark again, sharp and sweet, and this time he didn't hesitate. He laced his fingers through hers, holding on like it mattered, because it did. Later, they walked through the snow-dusted streets, arm in arm, the world shimmering under a canopy of lights. They paused beneath a towering tree in the square, its branches heavy with ornaments, and Harper laughed as a flurry of snow landed on her hat. Marcus brushed it away, his hand lingering, and when she looked up, eyes bright, lips parted. He kissed her. Not tentative this time, but sure, steady, like a man who'd finally found his footing after a long fall. When they pulled apart, Harper's smile was radiant. "Merry Christmas, Marcus." Marcus grinned, heart thudding with something that felt dangerously close to joy. "Merry Christmas, Harper." And as they stood beneath the glittering tree, snow swirling like confetti, Marcus realized something simple and profound. Endings weren't the enemy. They were the doorway to beginnings, and this one felt like the start of everything. Chapter 13. Epilogue. 1 year later. Snow fell in soft, lazy spirals outside the window, frosting the city in white. Inside, Marcus Reynolds stood in his living room, a box of ornaments at his feet and a grin tugging at his lips. The tree, taller than last year, fuller, brighter, waited in the corner, its branches bare and expectant. "Okay," Harper said, emerging from the kitchen with 2 mugs of cocoa. "Confession time. I bought way too many ornaments." Marcus laughed, taking a mug from her hand. "You say that like it's a bad thing." She set the box on the couch, curls tumbling as she knelt to rummage through the glittering chaos. "Look at this one," she said, holding up a tiny ceramic gingerbread house. "It reminded me of your heroic auction bid." Marcus groaned. "Don't remind me. I still have frosting trauma." Harper laughed, the sound warm and familiar, the kind of laugh that had carried him through the hardest winter of his life and into something better. Marcus watched her for a moment, heart swelling with quiet gratitude. A year ago, he'd been untangling lights alone, drowning in silence. Now, the room hummed with life, her laughter, the scent of cocoa, the promise of everything they'd built together. They decorated in easy rhythm, trading stories and teasing each other over ornament placement. Harper insisted on symmetry. Marcus claimed organized chaos was a valid aesthetic. When they reached the angel topper, Marcus lifted Harper so she could place it, her laughter ringing out as she wobbled in his arms. "There," she said, settling the angel into place. "Perfect." Marcus set her down gently, his hands lingering at her waist. "Perfect," he echoed, and meant it. Not just the tree, but the moment, the life they were weaving strand by strand. Outside, carolers sang, their voices drifting through the frosted glass. Inside, Marcus kissed Harper beneath the glow of the lights, the warmth of her lips melting the last traces of winter chill. As they curled up on the couch, cocoa steaming between them, Marcus glanced at the tree, bright, beautiful, a testament to second chances. He thought of the year behind him, of endings that had felt like ruin but turned out to be doorways. He thought of Harper, her head resting on his shoulder, and smiled. "Next year," he murmured, "we're getting an even bigger tree." Harper laughed softly. "Next year, we'll need a bigger apartment." Marcus grinned, heart thudding with something that felt like forever. "Deal." And as snow whispered against the windows and the tree shimmered in the corner, Marcus knew this was more than a new chapter. It was the story he'd been waiting to write all along.